Following one of the worst finales in television history, Dexter Morgan made his return almost 10 years later in his new show, Dexter New Blood. But sadly, this second chance for the series ended up repeating the original show's reputation by having an ending that too left a sour taste in the mouth of fans. Today, we talk about what exactly went wrong with Dexter New Blood and how they could have fixed that ending. Stay tuned. Hey guys, my name is DJ, and Dexter New Blood promised to be the satisfying finale to a show with one of the worst finales in TV history. Completely panned by viewers and critics alike, the finale of Dexter that took place all the way back in 2013 left many fans furious. From the treatment of major characters like Deborah and Hannah to the cop-out ending of having Dexter fake his death without any sort of repercussions. It really is a mind-blowing way to end the show in my opinion. Instead of having Dexter Morgan come face to face with all that's happened to him, instead of Dexter Morgan dealing with any sort of emotional payoff, hell, instead of Dexter the show doing anything emotionally satisfying to us as viewers, they instead took the easy way out with Dexter not having to deal with any sort of repercussions. But don't get me wrong, I liked that original Dexter show. I think, like a lot of fans, the first 4 seasons were absolutely phenomenal. So when they announced that they were returning with Dexter New Blood, I, among all those fans who remembered the greatness of those first 4 seasons, were really excited. And for most of the story, Dexter New Blood was actually pretty great. Dexter's newly recreated life in Iron Lake is exactly the kind of life Dexter would have if he tried to protect himself from being a murderer. A small town out in the wilderness with a social circle that takes up the entire small town? It's a pretty good place for him to create those boundaries for himself. Dexter deciding to move to Iron Lake so that he can stop his own cycle of killing makes so much sense to me. And it's a natural way for his character to progress off screen. Not only that, but the connections he actually makes while in Iron Lake, while being in this self-solitude, are pretty interesting as well. He, in a weird way, finds himself almost recreating his social circle in Miami through this now inner circle of friends in Iron Lake. No wonder Dexter's friends in Iron Lake are all cops. It's a sense of familiarity that Dexter is comfortable with. But of course, Dexter does eventually betray both himself and his friends by breaking down those barriers that he himself tried to put up by finally killing someone. And my personal favorite touch of the show is how Dexter's whole life starts to crumble because of his murder. The moment he goes back to his old self, everything in his life starts to fall apart. It's this really cool symbolic moment where, at the end of the first episode, Dexter murders Matt Caldwell and then everything starts spiraling. Not to mention how this whole series ends up becoming one weirdly symbolic tale about how someone's life can just go completely off the rails the moment they restart their addiction. To the point where Dexter, in his spiral back into his murderous addiction, does these horrible things that the old Dexter would be too smart to do. Such as trying to turn his son into a murderer like some weird Robin to his Batman. Or even going so far as to kill a good and innocent man like he did in the final episode with Officer Logan. And the whole story seemed to be building up into this big climactic ending of Dexter's murderous addiction becoming his downfall. His new family is collapsing, his murderous addiction is running rampant, and Dexter's just scrambling up until the finale of the show. But then we got to the ending of Dexter New Blood. The moment where Dexter's addiction was met with a quick death rather than a cathartic altercation between Dexter and his dark passenger. Now, in theory, I don't think that Harrison being the one to kill his father is a terrible idea. The son now becoming a killer by killing his own father? I get the idea. But it's the manner of this murder that I take issue with. We've watched throughout the show as Dexter's murderous addiction just grew and grew. And the second he felt like his son was like him, he latched onto it and tried to recruit him into his inner circle of killers. Like an addict desperately trying to take everyone down with him, clinging on to someone to feed his habits. And in this huge moment where his addiction has completely reached its peak, He just tells his son to kill him. Now, you may have found this pattern in my complaints from both Dexter, the original series, and Dexter New Blood, in that there's no real consequences for Dexter's actions. Harrison just straight up kills Dexter and leaves. No emotional impact or weight is brought into light, and Dexter gets to just die as opposed to finally coming face to face with the consequences of his actions as a serial killer. And it's almost a bigger smack in the face than in the original series, because by episode 10, they have all the seeds planted for this huge cathartic ending. Angel Batista was heading up to Iron Lake to come face to face with Dexter. Angela had figured out that Dexter was a killer. Harrison's emotional shakiness about the whole thing was starting to be made apparent, and Dexter was literally in police custody. They had all these little chess pieces waiting perfectly for a checkmate, and instead they just threw the chessboard at the wall. And I want to reiterate, I liked Dexter New Blood. The first 9 episodes brought me back to that golden age of the original series. But like that same original show, it fell face first right at the finish line. However, if you've been around here a while, then you probably have noticed that I like to fantasy write my own versions of stories. Hell, I even have a whole series called What They Should Have Made, where I take stories and rewrite my own version of that tale. So you can probably guess that as soon as I saw this disappointing ending, I immediately knew how you could fix it. And honestly, it's not that creative an idea. You can literally keep everything in the show up until, like, I don't know, the last 15 minutes of the final episode. Like I said earlier, everything is already set up for you. All you have to do is have Harrison, when talking to Dexter, drop the gun. That's all he has to do. Harrison proves that he is not this sick and deranged killer like his dad. Just by Harrison dropping the gun, Dexter sees in Harrison's eyes that you don't have to be this monster that Dexter is. Harrison, in this one motion, breaks that cycle. And then Angela comes in and takes away this emotionally defeated Dexter, since she shows up at the end of the real episode anyways, before we get to one more final episode where we get to see Dexter finally paying for his crimes. Dexter gets taken into custody by Angela, and we watch Dexter go through this court trial where he is faced with all of the death he has caused. He is attacked legally by both the Miami Police Department that he was in for so many years and the Iron Lake Police Department that he built his new life around. Coming face to face with people like Angel Batista, the man whose wife is dead because of Dexter and Deb. Coming face to face with Joey Quinn, the man who always suspected Dexter of having a hidden agenda. Hell, coming face to face with Aster and Cody, who were abandoned emotionally and physically after their mom died partially because of him. And then, ultimately, you can still have Dexter Morgan die. Just do it in the electric chair after watching everything in his life get taken away from him. All Dexter New Blood had to do was create an ending with weight and consequences. They had already done the heavy lifting to create that sort of ending in the first 9 episodes of the series. But just like the original show, Dexter New Blood failed at finally pulling the trigger on that cathartic ending. Instead, disappointingly, the sociopathic serial killer Dexter Morgan ended up dying without reason, without consequences, and without any repercussions for his actions. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I know I'm a little late to actually catching up and watching this series, but I would love to know what you guys have to say about this video and my thoughts on the show in the comments below. And what would you have done to change the ending of the original series or Dexter New Blood? Or hell, maybe you liked the ending, let me know down there. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. But until next time, have a good day. Bye-bye.